Okay, welcome back, guys. We were talking about the bank's repository. Bank's repository is a standard repository of Finacle scripting. And just like we have our own repository, we have our own class and our field names. Finacle Script has its own standard bank's repository. It has some input, different classes, and their field names, right? For Finacle, I'm going to note this out. We have this, we have banks. Then the classes in Finacle, classes, we have one as input, right? Input class. Two, we have another one called the output class, outputs class. Three, we have the one we call the in-param. Four, we have the one we call the out-param. Five, we have what we call the stdin. I'm just going to mention this, but I'm not going to explain it. stdout, we have it. All right. I'm not going to take my time on this because except when we get to the advanced level, we're not going to be using this one for now. All right. So for the input class, now the input class is the class that holds the value that is coming from the front end. Let's assume that this is our front end. Take a look at this. This is our front end, okay? You have this is the transaction maintenance interface where you perform all the transactions in the bank. This is the portal, the interface that helps us to perform transactions in the bank. So you come here, this is account ID. This is where you input the customer's account number. If it's a debit transaction, you put debit. If it's credit, you put credit. When you have this, now if you input account number here, right, and you are trying to fetch it from your script to use it for any, like in this case, we want to do, this case, our solution is account number validation. And for us to validate our account number, we need to have the account number, right? Now, the class that helps us to capture this, okay? The class that helps us to capture this is the input class, which is this first one, the input class. So when I put banks.input.account ID, right? This input class would only take values coming from the front end. From here, anywhere, anything I input by myself here, system would take that value for me, all right, in this input class. Now the other thing, okay, for this account, this field name, based on the solution, when we get to the front end design, when we start designing the front end like this, I will explain to you how you come about these field names, okay? But this field names is maintained in the JSP side, that's the Java server page, and in the JavaScript, okay? So I'll show you guys how it's done. But if you are in an environment that is neutral and you don't know the name of the field name of the field, right? You don't know the field name of that particular field, just type what you have as Control G. Let me see. CTRL plus G, okay? Control G here would help you to do what? It will help you to print out the name of that field. If you do Control G on that guy, you will see account ID, okay? Now, when you see account ID, you pass it here. Now, this one can be anything. I can call it like this, right? And use it the same way here, right? It will still print account. It will still hold whatever value I have assigned to it, which is whatever value is in this variable here. I've assigned it to this guy, right? As long as I'm using this guy, it will still show me the account number. Also note that when you're using I for one, I like to make it look, what's the word, consistent, right? I love to make it look consistent. So whatever I have here, I just simply, use it here and also print it out here, okay? That's how I love to do my own, but it's it's not cast in stone that you must use this now, okay? Just for your information. Now, what else was I trying to say? Let's see. I hope I'm not forgetting anything on this. Okay. Anyway, if I remember anything, I'll continue. Now, the output class is, for instance, if you look at this front end again, you can be running the process from the back end that you want. In this case, if I input any account number here, right, this is an image. I have not logged into the environment. I would have just shown you guys how it works. But if I input an account number here, automatically in this page, in this line, I will have the account name and maybe the account balance and the account currency, right? There are some things that automatically will come up, like this date now. This date is up here based on the system, right, by itself. The fact that you're able to see this, you did not enter it by yourself, but a script ran to populate this guy out. The class that holds that value that comes out by itself is the output class. Okay? The in-param class is the class that holds parameter, input parameters, right? If you see here, this is an input parameter, and I'm using it to pass data or value as a parameter. Look at this. I'm selecting count from this table where for us it equals svar. Svar is like a placeholder, okay? Like a placeholder that I'm using as, bind variable placeholder. Now, taking a look at this, you can see that the class that holds this value for me to be able to pass it into my database or into my user hook or into whatever I'm doing is the what? Is the output, is the in-param class, okay? That is that. Now, the out-param is, if you look at it, just like you have the in-param, this one holds the output parameter. So when I run this query, select count from this table, and I pass the input param class, the class that holds whatever value I fetch out is called the output parameter, okay? Whatever I fetch from the DB or I fetch from the user hook, whatever I do, the class that holds it for me is the output class, all right? Now, the standard inputs, if you take a look at this front end interface again, standard input are those ones that you don't input yourself, but they're needed as input. Let's assume, take a look at this screen. You can see right here, you have the date, you have the user ID, training 16, you have the sol ID, all right? I did not input these things, but at some point I will need them as, like this one, data of transaction. I didn't input these things, but the system is passing them for me. Let me give you an instance of why this is so. Imagine that you have this interface now that you want to create a transaction, and somewhere along this fields, you have anyone that has user ID, for instance. Some people can be fraudulent to say, user ID, okay, my name is TCB, and I'm going to perform this transaction, but I'm going to put Anthony Joshua's name here, such that when people look at this transaction, they are able to say, oh, it wasn't TCB that did it, it was Anthony Joshua that did these transactions. Guess what? If I have that kind of vulnerability in this system, people can always create transactions in other people's name and able to, perform some illegal transactions from the system. So one of the things that we do as the result of this is to allow system to pass this value for us, right? Allow system to pass these values for us such that we don't have to do all of these things. We're able to take it as an input, such that if you create as I logged in with this user ID, training 16, I don't have to, system automatically understands that the person that logged into this interface is training 16, okay? That is that for that, all right? That is why we have this class. And of course, just like I told you how to get the field names, they're all standard field names, right? STD out is also the same thing as the input, right? But we don't always use this. Like I said, we'll talk about this when we get to the intermediate or the expert class. So I'm going to delete all of this again. I'm going to delete all of this again so that we can continue our class. Thank you. So now you guys know why we have this input class. is a standard repository, is a standard class for accepting values from the front end, okay? Now I have passed this value here. This value here, whatever value I get from that front end, has been passed into my own variable, which is my repository, my custom class, and the field name, which is account ID, which can be anything, but I chose to make it this to be consistent, okay? Now, the next thing I want to check is, as a developer, it's your job to do some basic validations. People would not come, most people or most clients will not tell you what to do, but they just know that I expect that this developer should know that, okay, I have to check this account, check if it's valid, check if it's complete, ensure that it is not, account number shouldn't be alphanumeric, all those things. You decide on what you want to check. In some cases, the client will also give you some of the keys to validate. However, the basic validations has to be done by you, the developer. You can look at this, the scope of work here doesn't say anything about validations. But okay, well, account number validations here, but didn't tell us how to validate this account number. So we are validating it here. First of all, we're checking to find the length. This is a function used to find the length of a value in a variable, okay? So whatever value that we are passing here, we're checking it down here. This is a condition that says if this value, so we are passing this entire, the value inside this variable or the count of that value, we're passing it to this guy. So if you print this sv_a here, you will have the number of record or 11 or 12, number of value, the length of that, or number of characters in that value will be printed down here. Now, let me also talk about this sv_a. We spoke about it the other time in class. However, Finacle has what we call the scratch pad. It's called the scratch pad variables, right? So scratch pad variables, they are variables, not like variables. They are variables, right? sv_a all the way to sv_z, right? You can use any of this and hold any value you want. They are variables as well. You don't have to create all of this, you know, to repository class to be able to use it. No, you can just quickly just call it up and use it. sv_a, b, c, all the way to z. Yes, that is that. So depending on the one you want to use, you can always use that. So now I have assigned this to this variable sv_a, which is holding the count of the number of the length of the value that is in that variable. And I'm checking it here to say if the content of this variable is not equal to 10, which means if it's greater than 10 or less than 10, then system should be able to pass this error message to say account number must be 10 digits. From the region where I'm doing this video from, the account number in the region is usually 10, okay? But then, if it's more, you know, you can always find a way to ensure. These are just validations that happen. And then we're using this user hook. I'll talk about user hook very soon. We're using this user hook to say that whenever, if you put this user hook set about, I will put success or failure, and this will not move to the next page, okay? There are different pages in applications. There are different pages in the application that we use, all right? And if I am not passing, you can see if I have y here, regardless of what error I have, the system will move it to the next page. So, but n is what we use when you don't want system, especially when there's an error like this. You want system to stay on that page until the error is resolved. You use this, okay? Now we're using this user hook again to now say when this error, okay, this one is to set this error out, okay? Remember that this is just assigning this error message to sv_ak variable, scratchpad variable. And at this point, we're now saying this error message you have here, pass it on the front end and put focus on that field account ID, which is this one. So what happens here is that when when the account number is not correct, system will throw the error up here, somewhere up here, and then keep focus on this. You will see the cursor blinking on that field. That's how it will work. And then when you do that, you enter your what? The exit script. Okay? Now, after having done this, the next thing you do is, you decide how and when you want to do it. But as a developer, you should also have the basic understanding of hierarchy, flow. There are some things that you need to check first before checking, some other things. All right? So here we're now checking. Remember that we checked to ensure that the account number is 10. Now you see, I cannot come and check if the account number exists first before checking that it's 10. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. At this point, you can see that this, like I said, the hierarchy of validations. I can't come and check if this account number exists in the table before checking if the length is 10. You can see, so the first thing is I'm checking that you make sure that number one thing is that it's complete. It's 10 and it's not, you can add some other things that it's not alphanumeric. You can add some other things that, to ensure that it meets the minimum requirement of an account number. Now, after that is done, I am using the in-param again. Remember the in-param, input parameter class. I'm using it as a parameter and I'm passing that same value, the account number, all right? Now, at this point, I'm checking if the account number exists in our general account master table, right? Now, for this table, for us, it means account number, all right? Then I am using this user hook, DB select. Now, user hook, I call them triggers. I call them like, they're like little push, or they're functions, right? The system that's created to perform different tasks. They are functions, but I call them like little triggers. For instance, if I'm writing this query here, imagine that I have a select query here. Let me see if I have my DB open. This is a DB, okay? Let me open a different page. I hope I'm connected. Let me see. Okay, let's say I'm writing a simple select query here. Select. Oh, I have to increase this. Let me see. Can I increase this guy? Yeah, I have. Yes. Okay, yes. Now imagine I'm writing select all from that table. That table is tbaadm.gam, and I'm running the query. What I was trying to explain is, if I don't click on Control Enter or come and click on somewhere here, right up here. Okay, I'm not logged in. Let me reconnect. Okay, now I'm logged in. Now I've written this select query. If I don't come here to click on execute, right, this will not run. Now you see, I've executed it and it's running. Let me do a count on this guy. Select count on this, so that we can know the number of accounts we have in this table. I've done a count, and you can see that I have 5,300, okay, 53,818 records of accounts in this table, okay? So what am I saying? In this script, in this query, if I don't click on this, the record will not be fetched. If I just type this query and leave it like that, nothing will happen, okay? But at this point, I'm able to click this or do the short key for it on my keyboard is Control Enter. Control Enter will help me execute that query and return output. So that Control Enter I clicked is the same function with what this guy is doing for me. Okay? This guy is just executing that query to fetch output. Okay? So here I'm passing, remember I talked about the outParam class that holds the value that comes out. Okay? Just so you know, when I did this count, I had 53,000 or so, right? Count, right? Enter. Now, if I do it for an account, the record will just come here in the account, right? And in our own case, that number of that record will just show here. And if I print it, that same exact record I saw there is what I'm going to see here, okay? Then I'm doing a check here to say, if I run this query and it comes as 0, right? Let me just form an account number and see. Select this where for acid equals, let me just put any valid, no, not valid now, any 10 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. This is 10, right? If I run this query, I don't expect to see an account number. You can see it returned 0 as the value for me. It meets the requirement of 10 numbers, right? But if you check the DB, this account number does not exist. So in my query here, in my condition here, I'm checking. If, remember we talked about this comparison, right? If whatever is in this value, which already we know is 0, is equal to 0, which is true in our case now, then account number is what? Invalid. You can choose whatever you want to write. Or you can say account number does not exist in our repository, on our server, on our DB. Whatever English language you want to put there, you are very free to do so, okay? But then, if it exists, system will not come in here. It will just jump and continue its job, right? So we have done this. Now, we are trying to now use this KIF ID to do what? To fetch use this KIF ID to check the account number. But we don't have this KIF ID. How do we get about it? We will now have to go and look at it. Let me see, where was I? Good. Here, I'm fetching the KIF ID for the account. So I'm doing a simple select again on that environment. However, there is a user hook for this. There's a user hook for fetching these details, right? There's a user hook for that, but I'm not using that user hook for now because I want us to understand how to use the simple select queries first. Then when we get into the intermediate class, we can learn how to use user hooks to fetch these things, okay? Now, this is a simple SQL select query, right? I'm sure that you're wondering. So here I'm assigning it to this guy to say, whatever value you have here, please help me run this value. Okay, let me backtrack a bit so that I don't confuse you guys. From this point, you can see that there's a select KIF ID from tbadm.gam, right? Now, whatever value, if I have two records, let's say I have select this, comma, or acid, comma, account name, for instance. Let's say I have account name too. If I must have these fields, these columns to fetch from this table, I must also create a field for them at this point before the pipe, okay? You can see I have KIF ID, I have for acid, comma, have account, let me use this, account underscore name, okay? At this point, whatever field I maintain here is what my out param will take. If I'm to create all of this, my for acid will come here in the next line. My account number like this will come here in the next line. But for me, in this place, I'm only trying to fetch KIF ID, okay? So I don't need all of this, I'm taking them out. But you can see that I've created the field where I want the KIF ID to be. Then in the out param, I will have it placed here. Like I said before, I love to maintain consistency, so I put it the same thing here. This can be anything here at this point. It will still print it for me, okay? But I prefer to make my own very consistent. So at this point, when you run this, when you execute this query, just like we did before, if it's 0, it means that it's successful. When you run a query here, when you execute this function, if it returns 0, it means that it is successful. If it returns 1, it means that there's a failure, okay? Just like you saw in this place where I told you guys that I saw that it failed because I saw that it returned 1. Let me see. You can see that in this place, this one here returned 0, which means that it is successful, okay? Right, while the other one we saw returned 1. Let me see, let's be sure. Okay, here. You can see that this one returned 1, which means that it is a failure, something failed, okay? So when you're executing a user hook, if there is an error, you see that if you print trying to debug it, you will have 1 for failure, 0 for success. Now, I guess I'm going to hurry up on this. Yeah, so having done this, I am looking at this now. I can see I'm checking if this is not successful, right? If it's not 0, which is successful, then I'm checking. I'm asking system to print out this. I'm assigning this value to this variable, the string value, key ID, fetch, failed. Please contact administrator, okay? And I'm saying do not move to the next page, okay? And I'm saying push out this, but maintain focus on that field, account number field, which is this one, right? Okay, I hope I'm not too fast. Anyway, comment on the comment and let me know. I can always take it easy and get it done. So if this is successful, I've been able to capture my key ID. This will hold my key ID for me, and I'll pass it into my own variable, which is this, and print that. Just this printing is not mandatory. I'm printing it to be able to see, especially during debugging, so I can see what system is passing as the key ID or printing as the key ID, there. Now, after this key ID is done, which is here, it says use the key ID of that account to confirm if there are other accounts. So basically, if there's a key ID, let me show you what system will do. Let's assume that I go on this database. This is a database, right? Let me check and pick an account number and use it for our simulation here. No, remove count. So I'm going to make this all. Let's assume that I'm using, these are all office accounts. So let me use a condition where account underscore ownership equals C. That is for customers, okay? Now I have a customer account. I'm going to pick an account number from it. Now remember that our first query is asking us to check key ID. Let me put this here. It's fetching key ID. Let me see. If fetch key underscore ID from this table for this account. See, I have one record, and this is the key ID for this account, right? Now, fetching this key ID, I'm going to put it down here. And I'm asking system now, the next thing I have on my page is system should fetch account name, account number, account balance, where key ID is whatever system has fetched for us as the key ID and passed it into these values. Remember, we have multiple now. See, account name is going to be here, account number is going to be there, same way, a scheme type, then account balance is going to be here, okay? Let me just copy this select query and run it on our database so you can see how system will treat this guy. So I'm going to remove these things. They are not valid syntax for SQL, okay? That's why I'm taking them off. We also have an SQL class, and for those of you who are interested in joining the class, feel free to comment and join this class, okay? So now the key ID that system fetched for us, I'm going to put it here. Let me see, is there any other thing that is wrong? Select account number for us, see this. Nothing is wrong here. Let me close this guy out. Now, let me tell you something. It's possible that one customer can have multiple accounts. This is a customer identifier. So there could be multiple accounts on this identifier, but you can't have one account on multiple keys. I don't know if that makes sense. Think about it. You can't have multiple accounts on one key, but you can have multiple accounts on, no, sorry, that was a mistake. You can have one key ID and multiple accounts, but you can't have multiple key ID on one account, okay? Yes, that's it. So when you run this query, execute. Now you can see that this is the value, the name, the account, the scheme type, and the account balance is 0 right now, okay? These values you see here, just like this, will be printed inside that name you saw there, account name, account balance, scheme type. You can see the scheme type is an overdraft account, and the account balance is 0. Everything will be printed inside here. Now, the next thing that we have said we will do is to do what? After fetching, to confirm the number of accounts he has. In our case, he only has one account on that key, okay? So the next thing is to do what? To insert the customer detail into a custom table. That is what we should do. Let me see. Okay, so the insert part, we haven't done it. So first of all, what we're going to do to insert it is we're going to have to create a custom table, okay? A custom table that will hold a account name, account number, account scheme type, account balance. Okay, let me quickly create a table for this. Let me quickly create a table for this. I love coffee, by the way. Okay. Let me just leave this out one side and create a simple table. Okay, so this is how I'm going to create my table. Let me increase the font size of this guy. So in Oracle, this is how you create a table. You say create table. There's a schema. Schema is like a repository, okay, or users. So I'm going to create my table in a custom schema, okay. What am I going to call this table now? I'm going to call it TCB, custom.tcb, TCB accounts. You know, just anything. You have the right to do that. That's one of the beauty of being a developer. You can decide on what you want, and whatever you call it is what the client is going to use it as, all right? And I call this TCB account details. Okay, fine. This is what I'm going to use. And when you do this, you open and close your brackets. Now, the first thing I want to put in my table, remember, is account name, okay? I'm going to call it account like this, and I'm going to call it name like that. And I'm going to assign the data type to it as varchar2. And I'll say it should be, how many numbers should it be? I don't think anybody's name is above 100 characters, but let's make it 100 characters, all right? I do this and I put a comma sign. I come to the next line. The next line I want is account number. I can call it like this, account underscore num. I'll just call it number, either way. Okay, let's call it now, okay? And account number, I'm going to make it, should I make it variable? Okay, let's make it variable, varchar. And in my region now, the account shouldn't be more than 10, but I'm going to make this 20. What it means is that if I input 21 record in this column, system will not let me send, system will not accept it. It can only take 20 characters for that particular field, while the initial one will take only 100. It can't get past 100. So if your name is longer than 100, it won't be able to go in, okay? So I'm doing that. The next thing I have here is, let's see. Sorry, guys. Next thing here is scheme type. Scheme type is ODA, SBA. It can be anything. Usually in this environment is 3. So I'm going to make it, put 5 instead. Scheme. Let's go type. Of course, it can't be more than 5. So I'm going to make it varchar. Varchar2. Some call it varchar, some call it varchar. It depends on what you want to call it. All right? Please, any question, don't hesitate to ask. Scheme type. Next one is account balance. So I'm going to call this account underscore balance. Okay? Let's call it fully balanced. And I'm going to assign it to, what am I going to assign it to? I can choose number. Okay, let's choose number. Let's use number. Number or decimal. Let's use number. The number, I'm going to say this guy should not be more than 20 characters and follow 2 precisions. Yeah, follow, that's the number of accounts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 should not be more than 20. And then after the decimal, it should, round it up to 2 decimal places, all right? And that is that. Now, as a developer, you have the right to decide what other valid information am I supposed to capture. For me, as a developer who is also security conscious, I'm going to insert user ID, okay? I'm going to insert user ID, and I'm going to say I want to capture the user that performed this activity, okay? So I'm going to call it user underscore ID, and I'm going to make it a varchar, or you call it varchar, okay? And I'm going to say, let's say 20, maybe 20, right? We will just capture the initials of the person. And then I'm going to say the time that this thing was done. Transaction, tran time, tran date, okay, tran date. Yeah? And it's going to be a date data type, okay? Date. I think that's about it. Am I supposed to capture any other thing? Anyway, for now, we're going to do a lot of exercises on Finacle scripting. This is a very simple scripting, whatever we're writing. After this, we'll be able to create other things, create different tables and different scenarios and different input, the fields, right? Okay, I've done this. I'm going to run it. Run. Insufficient privilege. So that means my table, I don't have access to performing this kind of activity on this user. I'm using this user db read, okay? So what I'm going to do is let me try and see if I have a user that can create this table. Okay, so let's see, this. Yeah, this should be able to do this for me. I'm going to use this guy. So let me try it. Let me try something. I'm going to do this and I'm going to make him B. Oh, I'm not going to show you my password, okay? Sorry. PC. Will I copy my password? I don't care. Okay, so let's try and see if this guy will log me in. If that guy logs me in, then I'm only then. Sorry guys, let me check it out. Oh, wow. Sorry. I'm sorry guys, 1 second. While we wait for this thing to load. Is it working or not? Yeah. Why is it taking so much time? Why is it taking so much time, bro? So you can see that I had this error here just because I don't have this privilege to perform. In SQL, you have what you call data manipulation, data control, which is what caused that one. Then you have data definition. So what I'm trying to do is data definition, and I don't have the right privilege to do a data definition on this guy, okay? So, but this user I use now should be able to do data definition. Let's hope that I log in. Good. Thank you. After so much time. So I'm just going to go in here, go back there. This is taking so much time. This is a nightmare. The worst nightmare of a developer is when system is dragging. I just want to copy that thing that we did. Oh, finally. So copy it. Copy. Then take it to this guy and paste, because I don't want to start writing again from scratch. So paste, okay? Zoom, 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 but we've seen it already, so I'm just going to highlight it and execute it. So you see, if you look closely, you can see down here, it has a table created, okay? Now, when because this table has been created, I also need to, because I know this, okay? So you need to also learn to know that you need to grant some level of permission on this table. If not, if I try to insert in this table and I don't have permission to insert, I would have an issue. So I'm going to grant, I'm just going to grant all for now, all right? But when you're writing a real, when you're writing a real application, of course, this is the job of the DBAs. The database administrator would restrict, the access, based on the user. So I'm just going to grant all on this table to public. It's just for the time being, okay? But I should be able to know the user that I'm granting this access to, okay? As a database administrator, if you take a look at that thing, you see that it has grants successfully. It's tiny, but yes, grant successful now. So now I can perform any kind of thing because I use grant all. Anyway, this is not an SQL class. If you want an SQL class, you can either join the data engineering class or the SQL and PLSQL class, all right? So yes, this table has been created, and having created, I'm gonna just run a simple select query on this table for us to confirm that it is empty. Oh, this is taking so much time. Okay, so we'll have select. I'm going to expand this guy again for you guys. So see, select all from this table. If I run this query, you can see that the output is there, but no record in this table because we haven't inserted into this table. Now we'll take this back into the script to perform an insert in the script. I just copy that table and I'm going to write an insert here in the script, okay? So this comment here is just saying that at this point, I'm going to be inserting record into this table. How do we start that? We start by assigning it to a scratchpad variable. I'm going to assign it to sb underscore, let's say p, okay? Or let's say f, depending on what you want, okay? So I'm going to say this is equal to, I'm going to open the string. Remember that up there, we had our data type of this script to be what? To be a string data type. So I'm going to do that, and I say, just like we write a simple insert query in SQL, and I'm going to say insert into this table, all right? If you do insert, you don't either mention the entire column. I like to do this first, okay? Values, then I open and close, okay? I can decide to write it as long as this. Okay, let me, you know what? Let me just write it first. I was going to talk to you guys about concatenation, but let me just write it so that if you see how long it is, and then when I concatenate it, when I do that, sorry, I was distracted. So I'm going to do insert into this table and have it as long as is. So when I concatenate it, you say the value of what we are doing. Now, the first thing is I want to do, let me go back and copy. I don't want to waste time in typing. I'm just going to copy the column names, okay? These are my columns. I'm just going to do this. As a developer, you need to learn how to work fast and smart. I'm going to open a new listing and show you guys what I do. This, most people don't know how to do it. Watch me. You put alternate and then draw it here, then I can decide to remove all of this one after the other, or cut it like this. No, and remove these two at the same time. Or to this, drag it, remove it, remove it, remove it, because I don't need this when I'm doing my insert, okay? So having done this, I can now use a condition, a function to do what? To put it on one line like this, okay? You can also decide to do it one after the other like this. You can decide to do it like this, it doesn't matter, on one line gradually, right? But I decide to do mine that other way. Okay. Now, all I need here is Control H. Whatever you see space, make it comma and space. Replace all. You see? Oh, well, some of them, they are not properly aligned, so we have multiple commas here, which is not a problem. I can always adjust. Always adjust. The programmer, you need to learn how to work fast and accurately. I've copied this guy, or I'm going to cut it. I don't need this page again. Cut it, come here, paste it here. See how long it is? See how long it is? So the values, I'm going to put these values here. But before I do that, let me just concatenate one of these points. From here, I'm going to pick it from here. Close the string here. Bring it under. Pass SB, the value SB underscore L. SB underscore L equals the same value plus the new value. All right, same value plus the new value. Same value plus the new value. Yeah, same value plus the new value. Okay, let me see. Sorry, I was a bit confused there too. Not confused, distracted. My environment is a little bit noisy, and I hope you guys can't hear the noise and are able to pardon me for that noise. So I'm going to have SV underscore L plus the new value again, which is a string, okay? So what this is simply doing is, this is saying that whatever value you have here is already assigned to SVL, which is this one, right? We're now saying that this SVL plus the new value would equal the same value here, which becomes this, and this equals whatever you have here and whatever you have here. And then we're assigning it to the same thing again, which will have all these ones and down, okay? So I can do all of that. I can decide to, so right now, this is the table. Now I want to put in the values, okay? I can decide to put them in a bind variable or assign them directly. Let me show you what I mean by assigning them directly. If I want to assign account name, I'll come here, single quotes, double quotes, plus plus, right? If I do this and I take the variable name here, and pass it here, that's for the account name. Then I come all the way here, I put a comma again, I do the same thing, single quotes. I'll explain to you later why we have that single quote, double quotes, and plus plus, right? So don't look at it as Japanese. It's a simple. So I can. This is actually easy to do. I can do this and just get away with it. However, just I can do it all the way till I finish the entire thing. But I'm going to use something else. I'm going to use the banks. I'm going to just copy this. Let me see. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Yes, this one. I'm just going to copy this thing and pass them as a parameter, okay? Paste it here. When I paste it here, this value is not what I need. I'm going to take this guy out, okay? Now, the first thing I want to pass, so when I remove all of this, I'll put placeholders in place of all of these ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to have 6 placeholders. 1, SVAR, comma, 2, these are all placeholders, SVAR, comma, SVAR, comma, SVAR, comma, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. one more, S var, oh, we need to put that question mark, S var, okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, the reason why I don't have the next one is because I'm going to default it to system date. So I don't expect to fetch it from anywhere. Whatever the system date is what I want to pass as the tran date, so that at the time of the transaction, system will just take the date of the system. So I'm going to call it sysdate, okay? Sysdate will just take the current date. As we're speaking now, with a timestamp, everything will just be captured at the point of the transaction. That's why I'm going to have this there. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So I need to, in my input parameters, I need to maintain 5 stuff here, okay? The first one is account name, okay? Account name is here, and I'm going to put it in a pipe. You see, just like you have it here, if you look at this, guys, in this bind variables, okay? You can see that this is a bind var, and here we are adding all of them together but separated by a pipe, okay? Like this. Let me copy this guy, okay? Which is why when you print it here, you have a pipe separating them, okay? So that is how system is going to treat it. So back to our guy, I'm going to put plus sign here and paste what I copied, plus again, okay? It's also a way of concatenating it, but separating them by pipes. It's a way of concatenating it and separating them by pipes. The other thing here is account number is the next thing, account number. So we have an account number here. The next thing is what scheme type. So I come here, I take the variable that is holding my scheme type. I pass it here as plus this, pipe, this, and plus again, okay? Then I paste it. Okay? The next thing is account bar. I come here, I copy my account balance, and I do what I call same thing, plus this, pipe, this, plus again, then I paste. This space are not important, so let me just take them off. I don't need these spaces, okay? They don't even make any difference. Because when you print it, it will still be there, okay? The most important thing is I want it to be separated by the pipes. So I have this here, and I'm gonna have plus, again, quote. Okay, so let me see. I have account balance now, right? So the next thing is user ID. Now, user ID falls in, remember I said to you when I was explaining that, imagine me coming to this place, and I have a place that I want to enter my user ID. And I decide to use a user ID that maybe my name is TCB, and I want to use Anthony Joshua's name, and I type it. If I'm able to do that, then the system is vulnerable, okay? So just like we have this, whatever you have here, I'm going to ask system to help me send it as stdin, that is standard input, which is done like this. However, I'm just going to do this here. I'm just going to do this here. Maybe here. Anyway you do it is okay. banks.stdin.user on the user ID like this. That's how it's written, okay? Then I'm going to also assign it to my own. I mean, I can use it like this. It won't change anything, right? But just for the sake of this class, I'm going to assign it to my own repository, which is base.id.user ID equals, all right? Just for debugging purpose, I'm still going to print it, which is not really important, but just to print it so that when I'm showing you guys the trace, you're able to see how it works, okay? Now, having done this, I've assigned it to my own custom variable, So now, see, now the next thing for me to do is to do, let me see, I have this, I have this, I have this. So I've done account ID, sorry, account balance. So next thing is the user ID, okay? So I do the same thing again, put my pipe, put it here, and then plus again, and then paste it. Having done this, system automatically would, pass these values into these placeholders when I run it, okay? So the next thing I will do is, now just like you have in our table, if I write an insert query on this platform, and I don't click on either execute or control enter, then it will not insert, right? So I'm also going to use a user hook to do that. So I'm going to call that user hook SV. Okay, let me just print this. For fun purpose, SV underscore L. So the system will show us when we're debugging, you guys can see it. Now I'm going to assign our user hook to SV underscore M, and I'm going to say DB SQL. Remember that the first time we used was DB select, right? But when you're performing insertion, like data definition, right? Or data manipulation or whatever, when you're performing, insertion into a DB from this, we use a user hook called DB SQL with bind. Okay, so that being said, we are going to have this of SV underscore L, right? Please do well to get your questions ready. So I'm going to be printing SV underscore M. This should either show me 1 or show me 0. If it shows me 1, then there's a failure. If it shows me 0, then it's successful, okay? So what I'm going to do right here, right now, is I'm going to put a condition to check for the failure. If SV underscore M is equal to 0, okay? Which is, if it's successful, then let me put the end if here, end if. Then I will do just a simple print, nothing, right? Just a simple print, okay? Insert is successful, right? Then if it's a failure, that is else. If it's not 0, we have the else statement. Then I say just print, okay, you see, just print insert isn't successful. This is just a simple, I mean, it's nothing serious. We're going to get more complex experience of Finacle scripting. We haven't done this simple task. I have achieved whatever I want to achieve based on my requirement from my client, just like this, right? Based on whatever I want here, I have achieved it. Now, the next thing we're going to do when we come back in the next video is to test what we have done. We're going to test it. We're going to debug it. We're going to debug it if there are errors. One thing you shouldn't be afraid of as a developer is being afraid of errors. Errors are actually good. They feel good, especially when you are seeing the error, you're able to fix it, and it goes to the next page or the next line, like that, and you're able to debug it until the system is free of bugs, okay? So we're going to test it in the next video. Stay tuned, like this one, share with your friends who are interested to learn this, and yes. So I'll meet you again when we start testing and debugging. Then we'll then open our the trace file. You will see the trace file. You see how we're testing this the application. And at the end of the day, the idea is that whatever account we pass in the front, whatever account we pass from here would translate to, or rather move to this table in the database, okay? That's the idea. The idea is that whatever account we have here, when we run this query here, we'll have our record in this table based on our requirement. Thank you so much, guys. And please ask the questions in the comments. I'll answer all of them. See you in the next video. Thank you.